family. Welcome to Grow Grief, Reconnection, and Ongoing Wellness. I'm Letitia Renee, and today we're diving into something that's close to my heart, the journey of living on after losing someone you love deeply. This topic isn't just something I've read about. For me, it's personal. After losing both my parents, I found myself in a place where I didn't know how to move forward. There were days, honestly, I didn't want to. I felt stuck in a loop of grief, and any step toward rebuilding my life, it just felt too overwhelming. If you've ever felt this way, please know you're not alone. You're not broken, and you're not weak for struggling to take those steps forward. Today, I want to share pieces of my story and offer a new way to look at moving on. Together, we'll explore how to move forward while still honoring the love and the memories that shaped us, that shaped you. When my parents passed away, I was overwhelmed by fear and guilt and exhaustion. The fear was so suffocating. I worried that moving forward meant that I would somehow forget them and that the connection we shared would fade away. Then it came that guilt. I remember my mom, she had a habit of repeating herself, and she would do it so often it became a point where I can finish her sentence for her. And I remember the time she said to me, this was way before she had gotten sick, she had said to me, one day you're going to wish I was here to repeat myself over and over again. So sure enough, when my mom died, what came popping right to the forefront of my mind? Wishing that she was here to repeat herself over and over and over again. That guilt, it struck me pretty hard, just like a brick wall. And then came the exhaustion. Grief wasn't just emotional, it was physical. I'd wake up tired, I'd carry that heaviness throughout my day, and then I'd collapse in the bed feeling no closer to healing. I felt like I was failing because I couldn't figure out how to get over it, the term that people often use. But here's something I've learned. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean getting over it. It means learning how to live with the love that you shared and finding ways to carry that love forward into your life. I want to share a turning point in my own journey. It was a moment when I realized that moving forward didn't mean leaving my parents behind because my parents and I were very close. If I hadn't shared before, my brother and I were the caretakers for my mom and dad who had been married for years and years, and they both died of cancer. We were very, very close. My mom was my best friend. So one day I was sorting through some paperwork that I had, and I came across my mom's handwriting. And for a moment, it felt like she was right there with me, like guiding me through what I was reading. There was some cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards, and it was a beautiful card that was dedicated to me from her. Instead of feeling sad in that moment, I felt so connected to her in a way I hadn't in months. I realized that her influence was still alive in me. For some of you, your loved one's influence is still alive in you, whether it's in meals that you cook or the way that you fold laundry or even the way you love others. I realized my mom's impact is still within me, the way I carry myself as a lady, the way I handle other people, the way I treat others. She still lives on, and I'm still very much connected to her. That moment helped me reframe what living on meant. It wasn't about leaving her or my dad behind. It was about carrying them with me in small but meaningful ways. Here's a question I want you to think about. What's one thing your loved one gave you, whether it's a lesson, whether it's a value, or even, I don't know, a favorite recipe that you still carry with you today? Think about it. And when you come up with a response, I want you to hold on to that because it's proof that their impact hasn't disappeared. I know this isn't easy. So let's talk about realistic ways to begin living on, ways that feel doable, even in the midst of grief. For me, one of my quiet wins was simply making it through the day. On some mornings, just getting out of the bed felt like I was climbing a huge mountain. but I learned to celebrate even that. Take a moment right now to think about your own quiet wins. Did you get through something you didn't think you could? Did you find a moment of peace, even if it was brief? Recognizing these moments, it'll help you see that you are healing, even if it seems slow. I used to think joy was something big, something that acquired so much energy that I simply did not have. But I've learned to find joy in smaller ways. For me, I'm in a place where the beach is not too far, and I love to be near the water. That's my place of peace. I love nature. So for me, sitting in the sun with my bare feet sunken in the sand when it was warm out, that brought me a glimpse of joy. It wasn't about me forcing happiness, but it was about me letting myself feel just a little bit better for a little while. Now I want you to think about what joy could look like for you. Maybe it's having your favorite cup of coffee for those that are coffee drinkers. Maybe it's listening to your favorite genre of music for those who are music lovers. And music brings back good memories for you. These moments don't erase what you're going through, but they remind you that joy and grief can coexist. And if you continue to be intentional in your healing process, you'll start to see joy starting to tip the scale. There's grief, there's joy. Joy starts to tip the scale every now and then, where joy starts to outweigh your grief. One of the hardest things after losing my parents was feeling like I lost my connection to them. But over time, I found new ways to feel close to them. For example, I started writing. I started writing letters. When I felt overwhelmed or just needed to release, I started writing. I didn't think too much about what to say. I just let the words come. And it just flows so naturally as if it wasn't even coming from me. And over time, this became a way for me to feel like I was still sharing my life with them. For you, maybe it's you telling a story about your loved one to someone who never had the opportunity to meet them. I was working with a client and I didn't know his mom personally, but he had the opportunity to share who his mom was. And in the midst of that conversation, I got to realize what a treasure of a mom he had. So I got to experience his mother through him telling stories about her. And at the same time, he got to experience healing because he was remembering his mom in such a beautiful light. It can also be wearing something that reminds you of them. I have my mom's scarf that I wear every now and again. It could be carrying on a tradition that they loved in your own way, though. These small acts of connections can be incredibly healing for you. I want to ask you something. If your loved one could speak to you right now, what would they say? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine them sitting with you. And they're looking at you with love. Do you think they'd want you to feel stuck? Or would they encourage you to take even the smallest steps toward fully living? Hold on to their voice in your mind. Let it guide you. It's not to diminish your grief or what you're feeling, but it's to remind you that love does not end, even when life changes. You feel that love overcoming your body right now? That's your inner strength beginning to wake up. Living on after loss is one of the hardest things I ever had to do. But it's also one of the most meaningful things that I've done because I've grown so much through my pain. My grief was really my teacher, and I learned so much in positive ways. One of the biggest things I've learned is it doesn't mean leaving them behind. It means rediscovering who you are with the love they gave you still in your heart. Remember, it's okay to move on at your own pace and celebrate your quiet wins. Let joy in, even if it's small, and find those little moments that keep their memory alive in your life. Thank you for letting me share my story with you today. If something resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember you're healing even when you don't see it. I see you. Keep healing one step at a time.